No.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the films that could have been more satisfying if they had better direction, writing, and or acting.
What are you doing here?
Just waiting.
Number 20, Jupiter Ascending. The duo behind The Matrix poured a lot of work into this new property.
Please, this has to be a mistake.
These people don't make those kind of mistakes.
What if I say no? What if I don't go with you? What if I go home?
Inspired by Star Wars, The Odyssey, and The Wizard of Oz, Jupiter Ascending was set to be the Wachowskis' next sci-fi hit. The studios invested about $200 million into the project, and the cast was packed with star power. Unfortunately, none of that made the film as entertaining as it should have been.
Oh God, I'm so sorry.
Despite the exciting premise about a housekeeper turned monarch, the plot was just too bloated and at times unintentionally hilarious. With some polishing, this could have rivaled the likes of Avatar or Doom. Number 19, Bright. Director David Ayer is no stranger to action thrillers, and screenwriter Max Landis has some decent work in the industry.
You know what? It's a new day. Back to work, we hitting the reset button.
Copy that.
So why wasn't their urban fantasy film a success? It might have to do with its tired buddy cop tropes or odd lack of social commentary. Some claim that it poorly attempts to blend gritty drama with comedy. In any case, it's a shame that it didn't have any staying power, as the world of Bright is pretty interesting, at least on a surface level.
Really, Nick? Really?
Maybe someone will do it justice in a sequel. Number 18, Chappie. Action movies about innocent robots tend to do well with viewers.
Chappie, listen to me, I'm your maker. I brought you into this world.
Characters like the Iron Giant and Wall-E were easy to root for, but Chappie didn't quite make an impression. For most of the runtime, he came off as annoying and one-dimensional. This wouldn't be that big of a problem if he wasn't the main character, or if he had other, more interesting characters to bounce off of. But even the humans are as flat as they are cartoonish. Many also thought the movie wasn't as profound as it thinks it is, citing it as a huge step down from Neil Blomkamp's District 9. At least the sci-fi visuals are pretty darn good.
Let's you and me reset.
Reset.
Yeah.
Forgive.
Yeah. And we're gonna make you nice and tough and strong like a...
Number 17, Now You See Me. You think a heist film with magicians would, at the very least, be a fun time at the movies. It also doesn't hurt that its cast has some very charismatic actors.
Come in close. Closer. Because the more you think you see, the easier it'll be to fool you.
Unfortunately, it just didn't have the magic. The already convoluted plot relied heavily on tricks that would be literally impossible to pull off. Maybe some on-camera practical effects and less CGI would have made it more believable. It also would have been a fun way to pay homage to real-life illusionists and escape artists.
We are the Four Horsemen! Good night!
In the end, the movie wasn't boring, and it proved popular enough to spawn sequels, but it was far and away from the magical heist thriller we wanted it to be. Number 16, Timeline. An adaptation of a popular Michael Crichton book would seem like a slam dunk.
I understand you guys. You all live in the past.
What?
You know what the past is to me?
What? What's the past to you?
The past is why my parents split up. The past is basically what I've been force-fed ever since I was a little kid. I mean, none of you archaeologists looks to the future.
After all, Jurassic Park was a huge hit both on screen and on the page. However, Timeline was both a financial and critical failure. Starring Paul Walker, Francis O'Connor, and Gerard Butler, it follows a team of corporate time travelers during the 100 Years' War. If that sounds like an odd mix, you'd be right. Audiences just couldn't connect with the sci-fi elements and the medieval swashbuckling.
You brought us back on the day of the French attack. By tonight, this whole place is going to be burned to the ground.
Well, pal, then I suggest you stop with the history lessons and start looking for the professor.
Not even Richard Donner, the director behind Lethal Weapon and The Goonies, could make it work. The film got terrible reviews and lost Paramount about tens of millions at the box office. Hopefully, the book will get properly adapted in the future. Number 15, Passengers. After Guardians of the Galaxy elevated him to stardom, Chris Pratt was set to take the industry by storm.
Wait, what?
It's perfectly normal to feel confused. You just spent 120 years in suspended animation.
What?
He was cast in a film by director Morton Tildum, who's best known for his Oscar-nominated work on The Imitation Game. Then when Jennifer Lawrence got on board, it seemed like Passengers was destined to be a huge success. Instead, it was brought down by heavy-handed dialogue and a flawed third act. Others accused the film of being downright creepy in its portrayal of love, with many saying that it should have just been a thriller in space.
So we're stranded
Ion drive.
on a sinking ship.
Even Jennifer Lawrence agrees that changes would have improved it. Number 14, The Monuments Men. While a movie about art historians and museum directors trying to preserve paintings during World War II might seem like a thrilling romp, The Monuments Men ended up being a disappointing 2-hour snooze fest.
But if you destroy their achievements, their history, then it's like they never existed.
A star-studded cast of Hollywood's elite couldn't save this war drama and actually only slowed the film down when time had to be allotted to each character's story. Although there are some interesting action bits in it, nothing of any substance really happens, and viewers just have to sit back and watch as they're taken on a slow ride to the credits.
Yesterday, we found 16,000 pieces of stolen art buried in a German copper mine. It seems the Nazis took better care of paintings than they did people.
Number 13, In Time. An intriguing premise and timely cast made this movie a hot commodity before its release.
If I had all that time, I sure as hell wouldn't waste it.
Unfortunately, In Time added up to nothing more than an interesting idea with no real substance. The movie sets up an alternate future where the amount of time you have left to live is also currency. But too much of the first half of its runtime is spent setting up this confusing premise, which eventually devolves into a Bonnie and Clyde-esque adventure.
See? They won't jump.
So much for your theory.
Justin Timberlake and Amanda Seyfried head up this movie's fresh-faced cast, but neither convincingly pulls off their roles. Audiences were left confused and slightly bored by this sci-fi misfire. Number 12, Hancock. Will Smith brings charm, comedy, and a little extra something to all of his roles, so audiences tend to flock to anything he's in.
What, you want a cookie? Tell on my face.
Couple that with the burgeoning superhero craze, and you got yourself a sure hit, right? Unfortunately, fans of The Fresh Prince were displeased by the lack of charm and the incoherent plot structure of Hancock. The foremost complaint was that the superhero comedy drama starts well, but halfway through undercuts its own humorous premise and introduces a wobbly love triangle.
I hate to burst your little crazy lady bubble, but it must not have been all that great, because I don't remember you.
The special effects and superpowered action weren't enough to carry the movie across the finish line, and what we're left with is an uninteresting mess. Number 11, Downsizing. As bizarre as the premise is, this could have been a great movie.
So the decision to...
Well, that's the thing. We both needed to change. Hit the reset button. Start all over.
It had a lot going for it, including popular lead actor Matt Damon, award-winning director Alexander Payne, and a concept weird enough to draw in audiences. But the story about a man who shrinks himself down ended up falling short. The social satire was half-baked, with comedy undermining its deeper messages. Matt Damon also just seemed pretty boring in the role of Paul.
I made a mistake, Dave. Biggest mistake of my life. Should have stayed where I was. Hey.
There are countless criticisms that people had with the film, but ultimately, it flopped at the box office and is mostly remembered for squandering its intriguing premise. Number 10, Event Horizon. Pitched as a haunted house story in space, this sci-fi flick was a critical and commercial failure. It fell far short of recouping its budget and was criticized for its reliance on horror cliches.
I think your captain has some kind of a problem with me.
Oh, well, don't worry about him. He just loves having complete strangers on his ship.
Worst of all, it wasn't really scary. Director Paul W.S. Anderson chalks this up to the rushed editing process, which he thinks made the direction and acting look worse than it is. Paramount nonetheless forced him to release a cut he wasn't happy with. If we got his complete vision, maybe it would have been a hit. We can see glimpses of brilliance in the atmosphere and set design.
It's complicated.
Well, how much time do you need? We have 17 hours and 48 minutes.
The film has gained a cult following over the years, indicating there's something there, just not enough to fully satisfy. Number 9, The Lone Ranger. Hot off the successful Pirates of the Caribbean series, we were ready for Gore Verbinski's and Johnny Depp's next blockbuster. How could this actor-directing pairing disappoint?
All right. Let's do this.
Well, by being an Old West take on the Pirates films, but without any of the charm that made them work. We will say that the set pieces are impressive and display some Buster Keaton levels of creativity. It falls flat, however, in nearly every other department. The plot moves at a snail's pace, and both its heroes and villains are bland.
Scared, aren't you? You should be.
The depiction of Native American history also garnered controversy that didn't do it any favors. With some tweaks, this could have been the Western genre's grand return to the mainstream. Number 8, The Black Dahlia. The novel of the same name is a popular and critically acclaimed piece of crime fiction.
Hello, Mr. Lodi.
Can you assure the public that you will find the murderer before he strikes again?
I can guarantee you, Mr. Lawler, this killer will be caught.
Based on the unsolved murder of Elizabeth Short, the story follows 2 police detectives out to solve the case. The adaptation maybe would have been great if David Fincher hadn't left to direct Zodiac. Instead, Brian De Palma was given the reins, and what we got was a movie that feels like a parody of film noir. Critics generally agree that the script is incoherent and needlessly complicated. And despite its star-studded cast, De Palma just couldn't get good performances out of them.
Sorry, Bucky.
However, both the director and original author claim that the initial 3-hour cut is the far better film. Number 7, The Purge. This movie's premise alone had us hooked. One night a year, all crime is legal, and a family must survive until morning.
Commencing at the siren, any and all crime, including murder, will be legal for 12 continuous hours. Police, fire, and emergency medical services will be unavailable until tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. when the purge concludes.
With the whole country as a backdrop, you would expect something more than just a standard home invasion thriller. And that's where the problems start to show themselves. The predictable script wasted actors Ethan Hawke and Lena Headey, and the action wasn't exciting enough to make up for it. At its worst, the movie was mind-numbingly generic and full of cliches.
I'm so sorry, but we're gonna make it through tonight, all right? We will, and everything is gonna be okay.
We were eager for a dystopian take on society's violent urges, but The Purge was ultimately just another bland rehash of familiar ideas. Still, that premise was enough to sustain a franchise, but oh, what might have been. Number 6, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, an epic comic book anthology created by one of the most influential comic book writers of all time, and Sean Connery as an adventure-seeking legend grouped with the most badass literary characters of all time.
Would you like to learn how to shoot?
I can't already.
That's gotta be a surefire recipe for a comic book adaptation if there ever was one, right? Wrong. The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, or LXG as it's lovingly referred to by no one, was a critical flop when it came out, as it treated the audience to a condensed storyline that became incoherent and lacked any semblance of character development.
I've been waiting all week to do that.
Get a grip, man.
Somewhere in a deep magical cave, Alan Moore is probably still cursing Hollywood. Number 5, Transcendence. How does that old saying go? You don't bring a cinematographer to a director fight? Something like that.
Some scientists refer to this as the singularity. I call it transcendence.
Well, that time-worn adage has proven itself true once again with this half-hearted attempt at a science fiction brain teaser. While the story asks a lot of questions about the future of computer science and artificial intelligence, it never puts forth any satisfactory answers. Instead, it leads the viewer on a narrative goose chase that doesn't resolve itself.
This is wrong. These are my thoughts. These are my feelings. You're not allowed!
Familiar and well-loved faces fill all of the main roles, but the actors struggle to keep up with the disjointed storyline, giving Transcendence the awkward feel of a B-movie sci-fi. Number 4, Cowboys and Aliens. In this American-Canadian production, the director of Iron Man, the early 21st century James Bond, and the legendary Han Solo come together to give you an epic tale of Wild West action and extraterrestrial mayhem.
You're going with us. I need that weapon. It's the only thing that counts.
Producers must have been patting themselves on the back for developing and releasing this sure to be a blockbuster film. Alas, the whole was not nearly as rousing as the sum of its parts. Cowboys and Aliens made less sense than its title, opting not to take advantage of the tropes of either genre, and instead focusing on a group of characters that were just as lost as the audience.
Drop him! I said drop him!
The potential was there, but the execution was lacking. Number 3, Sucker Punch. Up until 2011, Zack Snyder's directorial credits included Dawn of the Dead and 300. Needless to say, fans of epic action extravaganzas were looking forward to this Japan-influenced ultra flick.
Remember, ladies, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
But buried under strata of bad CGI and even worse acting is what could have been an interesting story of a helpless girl who is unable to deal with reality and succumbs to psychotic episodes in which she is a powerful heroine.
No. This is right. This was never my story. It's yours.
Instead, we are left with something like an incoherent visual tone poem that fails to impart any sense of emotional depth, all thanks to Snyder's distinct inability to deal with story structure and character development. Number 2, The Mummy. The classic Universal Monster series is one of the studio's best franchises. In 2017, horror fans were eager to see a fresh take on the iconic Mummy story.
What do you mean I'm cursed? How do you think you survived the crash? Satirical. You know what it means. She's got plans for you, Nick.
With a team of talented writers and Tom Cruise as the lead, it was expected to be the start of a shared universe. But it was such a misfire that the so-called dark universe was scrapped before it even really got started. At best, the film was an action horror that's light on scares. At worst, it was a typical blockbuster with forced humor.
What?
It also made the mistake of spending too much time setting up said cinematic universe. What was supposed to be the Universal Monsters' grand return was sadly a big disappointment.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1, Waterworld. It was the mid-90s, and no one could wait to see the next big Kevin Costner flick. On top of that, Waterworld had a huge budget and was reportedly being filmed on the ocean on a super expensive set.
So what's it worth? We trading or not?
We'll tally it like pure hydro.
Sadly bloated, incomprehensible, and waterlogged, this ambitious Kevin Costner classic seemed like it aimed to please almost no one, which would be refreshing except that it achieved this goal pretty spectacularly. From long before its release, whispers surfaced of the film's increasing budget and production setbacks.
Oh, just stand there! Kill something!
Those whispers turned to screams when what was originally a $100 million film ballooned into an almost $175 million flop. Which of these movies deserves to get remade the most? Let us know in the comments down below.
It must have been so hard for you.
It was.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.